Namaste, Jai Bharat. The thought of a separate Pakistan began way back, long before, but it effectively started manifesting after the 1850s when first struggle for independence of Bharat. It's weird, so Swatantravir Savarkar who named it as the first struggle for independence in Bharat instead of the dirty word with the British called it as Sipahi mutiny. Of course, it started with the revolt of Mangal Pandya, but it was not a Sipahi mutiny. But in their eyes, they wanted to depict it as Sipahi mutiny, and Swatantravir Savarkar called it as the first struggle towards independence. And that's why. And in the first struggle towards independence, the Muslims took part in the struggle for independence with a different objective than what the majority people had. Their objective was to bring back the Mughal rule in Bharat because, to their logic, the British took the crown or took the rule from the Mughals when they colonized Bharat. Of course, the British that time not the king, the crown was not ruling Bharat. It was the East India Company which had made Bharat a colony. Until then, they thought the East India Company took the authority and rule from the Mughals. It's not really the case. Mughal was not ruling the entire Bharat at any point in time. They were not ruling, but Delhi, primarily Delhi, they were not ruling. So they thought the British have to go from Bharat, and when they go, the rule should be handed over to the Mughals. To that extent, to that effect, they brought the last descendant of the available that time descendant, last of course indeed, descendant of the Mughals, which was Bahadur Shah Zafar, and he was brought to Delhi, and I think also crowned him as Badshah in their terms. And they worked towards the ouster of British rule, the colonial rule, with an objective of getting the Mughal rule back, and people of others who fought for the freedom of Bharat, and that is how the whole thing begins. And from that time onwards, when they realized that it's not going to be Mughal rule in Bharat anymore, it's going to be democracy. Of course, democracy is nothing new to Bharat. Democracy was there already in Bharat long before. We had the Ganarajya concept, etc. And our democracy was our own distinct pattern of democracy we had. So it's nothing new. So the democracy would come, and they knew that in democracy it will be the majority rule, and the majority are the Hindus. So they thought, this is very interesting. They thought that what the Hindus would do to the Muslims, as the Muslims would do under similar circumstances to the Hindus. That is, if the Muslims are in majority, how they would treat the Hindus. They thought the Hindus would treat this in the same manner Muslims when the Hindus are in majority. Of course, Hindus are in majority. They have failed to understand, in spite of being born here and living with the Hindus, the real Hindu nature of tolerance, acceptance, and coexistence. That, of course, they have not understood. So they wanted a separate nation, and that work started from that time onwards towards a separate Islamic nation, and went on. They planned, they programmed, they struggled. They had slowly and gradually, they created many schemes of a two-nation theory. The two-nation theory started getting floated, and many people have contributed towards the two-nation theory, and even the Latif, there are multiple schemes came into existence. There is also one Latif scheme from the south. He was teaching in Osmani University in Hyderabad, I suppose, and even he gave a separate scheme, two-nation theory scheme, multiple schemes came into existence, and Jinnah, of course, did not want this thing, separate Islamic State, because his idea was still more concrete from his perspective, and very bad from our perspective. That is, Jinnah wanted the Muslims to stay in Bharat with all kinds of reservation in which oppose exclusively for the Muslims, so that they will live here comfortably without any problems. And of course, that would have been a miserable situation for the majority Hindus in Bharat, because within no time they would multiply and they will occupy everything. That kind of things. So eventually, I think in Lahore Declaration of 1944 or so, that Jinnah accepts the concept of Pakistan. He was initially against the concept of Pakistan. When Mia Kifayat Ali wrote a book on Pakistan, and the Mandot Nawab was about to publish it. The Nawab Mandot's request for a introductory remark or something from Jinnah, and Jinnah sends him a telegram to the Mandot Nawab. Both of Gujaratis basically uh, sends a telegram to Mandot and says, "You put any other name except Pakistan for that book." That is the only thing which Jinnah told. He did not like that word because the word was coined by not by Jinnah or someone else. It's coined by Rahmat Ali, Punjabi, of course. He is a Hoshiarpur. So, it happened. Pakistan became separated from Bharat and they think they have one freedom. Now, from then to now, just tell me, just see, I'm asking the Pakistani average citizen that what have we lost or what have they lost and what have they achieved? What do they have and what they have all lost? Except their version of Islam, they lost everything. I say their version of Islam because they consider and understand Islam in their own way. It has a larger influence from Muhammad Iqbal, which itself is version of Islam. And they haven't followed the Muhammadist Iqbalian version of Islam in toto. They have diluted it to their convenience, and they have their version of Islam, which is far flung from the archetype Islam in Arab. That's why the Arabs find it difficult to see that Pakistanis are authentic Muslims, and that's a different area of discussion. I'm not going to that. But they are left just with religion and with nothing else. They've lost whatever they had, whatever their ancestors had acquired, qualitatively and quantitatively, in whichever manner. They lost everything. They gone into a miserable situation. They made a time travel back in time. I don't know how many hundreds of years back, but they've definitely gone back in years through their minds, in spite of the world going ahead. And today they're left with their version of Islam and nothing else. Was it appropriate for them to leave us? Yes, they would still say it is appropriate because they want that religion. They think that that's everything, and that's the thought. That's the thought. They think that by this they get everything without working. Everything will be given to them. And that's a very funniest part of it, which makes them idle. Not hardworking, not industrious. They just wait for things to come from above. Wait for things to come from above. You don't have to do anything. Everything will come to you automatically. That belief makes them spoiled. They have lost the work culture, even their work culture apart from everything. The entire Sanskriti they have diluted, destroyed. And they are left with this, their version of Islam. Let's see, they're still happy. They don't understand what the mistake they had. And they keep telling, we are Musulman, they keep telling. Unfortunately, there is no redemption in sight for that society. There is no redemption for that society in sight, in near vicinity. We'll meet again with some other thought. Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Sri Ram.